A single can of sardines holds more protein than a fast food burger, costs under $1, and sits forgotten in pantries everywhere. Seniors living alone are quietly protein deficient, not from lack of money, but from never being shown what actually works. Number 13 turns one Sunday pot into an entire week of meals. Number 2 costs less than a candy bar and beats a chicken breast on protein alone. Subscribe now because this list has 20 answers, and the fourth one might already be sitting in your cabinet. Number 20. Egg and cottage cheese scramble. 2 eggs whisked directly into a half cup of cottage cheese before they hit the pan. Scrambled slow over low heat until the curds melt almost completely into the eggs and the whole thing turns rich and slightly tangy. Most people never think to blend the two together, treating cottage cheese as a separate side rather than a secret ingredient. The cottage cheese adds a second full serving of protein without adding a single extra step to a dish most people already know how to make. Solo seniors who want more protein without cooking 2 separate things need exactly this trick. The eggs turn creamier than a plain scramble ever manages, holding a faint tang that plain eggs never had on their own. And the whole pan finishes in under 6 minutes from stove to plate. But eggs and cottage cheese were never the cheapest protein pairing on this list. Number 19 costs even less and comes straight out of a can. Number 19. Canned salmon patties, no fryer needed. A can of salmon, bones, and all, mashed with a cracked egg and a few crushed crackers, formed into small patties and pan, fried in a little oil until both sides turn deep golden brown. This trick has quietly fed households for close to a century, long before canned salmon carried any kind of premium label. The bones soften completely during canning and disappear into the patty, adding calcium nobody has to think about. Cost-conscious viewers who assume salmon is out of budget need to see the price of a can before writing this one off. A patty like this holds more protein per dollar than almost anything sold fresh at the counter, and the crisp edge gives way to a soft, flaky center that tastes far more expensive than it was. 2 patties, a squeeze of lemon, and this becomes a plate that would look at home on a restaurant menu twice the price. That same trick works with a jar most people already have standing in the cupboard doing nothing. Number 18. Peanut butter and powdered milkshake. A spoonful of peanut butter blended or stirred hard into a glass of reconstituted powdered milk, sweetened with a little honey or sugar if you have it, until the whole glass turns thick and pale and faintly nutty. This is a full meal in a glass for anyone whose appetite has shrunk but whose protein needs have not. Solo seniors who struggle to eat a full plate at dinner but still need the protein. A plate would deliver will find this shake solves the problem without a single dish to wash. The peanut butter clings to the inside of the glass just enough to remind you it is there with every sip, and a splash of cinnamon on top turns it into something that tastes closer to dessert than medicine. But a shake only goes so far, and the next entry brings protein back to a fork. Number 17. Lentil and egg skillet. A small handful of dried lentils simmered until soft, drained, then folded into a hot pan with a cracked egg stirred straight through until everything sets together into one warm, hearty scramble. A single bag of dried lentils can quietly stretch across a dozen meals when treated this way. Lentils cost only a few cents per serving and carry a meaningful amount of plant protein even before the egg joins them. Practical home cooks who want a meatless dinner that still delivers real protein need this combination in their weekly rotation. The lentils hold their shape slightly against the soft egg, giving the whole skillet a texture that feels more substantial than either ingredient managed alone. And a pinch of smoked paprika stirred in at the end makes the whole pan smell like it took far longer than it did. That same lentil logic works just as well swapped for a can of beans, which is exactly where the next entry goes. Number 16. Canned tuna and white bean mash. A can of tuna, drained and flaked, mashed together with a can of white beans, a splash of olive oil, and a squeeze of lemon if you have one, until the whole bowl turns into something between a spread and a chunky dip. Neither can cost much on its own, but together they turn into a mash that feels far more filling than the price would suggest. 2 cheap proteins combine into a bowl that delivers considerably more staying power than either can manage on its own. Cost-conscious viewers stretching a fixed income across a full month will find this bowl costs less than $2 total and holds enough protein to anchor an entire dinner. The lemon cuts through the richness of the tuna and brightens the whole bowl into something that tastes deliberately made rather than thrown together, spread thick on a cracker, or eaten straight off the spoon, depending on how much energy the evening left behind. Most people never think to check what happens when a can of chicken meets a spoonful of yogurt, and that gap is exactly where number 15 lives. Number 15. Greek yogurt and canned chicken bowl. Plain Greek yogurt stirred with a small can of chicken, a pinch of salt, and whatever dried herb sits in the spice rack, eaten cold straight from the bowl without a single thing cooked. It looks almost nothing like a typical dinner plate, and that is exactly what makes it worth trying on. A night when cooking feels impossible. Greek yogurt alone carries more protein per serving than regular yogurt, and the canned chicken nearly doubles it without adding a single dollar of real cost. Solo seniors on a hot evening who do not want to touch the stove at all will find this bowl becomes a summer staple fast. The yogurt turns slightly savory once the chicken folds through it, cool and thick against the tongue in a way that feels closer to a proper meal than a snack, especially with a few crackers pressed in on the side for crunch. But cold bowls are not the only shortcut on this list, and the next entry proves a hot pan still wins some nights. Number 14. 2 egg cheese omelet. 2 eggs beaten with a splash of water, poured into a hot buttered pan, folded around a small handful of shredded cheese the moment the edge is set, cooked just until the cheese melts into a soft, warm center. There is no filler, no measuring, nothing between the pan and the plate, but a few minutes of attention. This is one of the fastest full-protein meals a kitchen can produce, ready in under 5 minutes from pan to plate. Nostalgic boomers who grew up eating breakfast for dinner on a tight week will recognize this immediately as the dish that saved more evenings than anyone admitted at the time. The cheese pulls slightly with the first bite, still soft enough to stretch before it breaks, and the whole kitchen smells like butter long before the plate ever reaches the table. If you already have a favorite way to stretch 2 eggs into dinner, drop it in the comments before you keep watching. Someone else scrolling through tonight might be looking for exactly that idea, and this kind of practical knowledge only spreads when people actually say it out loud, instead of keeping it to themselves. Number 13. The weekly egg. Prep pot. 1 dozen eggs boiled together on a Sunday afternoon carries a household through an entire week of protein without a single extra trip to the stove for a fresh batch. Sunday night 2 come out sliced over toast. Monday, 2 more go into a quick egg salad with mustard and a spoonful of mayonnaise. Tuesday, a couple get chopped into a green salad or a bowl of rice. Wednesday, what remains gets mashed with a little hot sauce and eaten straight from the shell. Thursday, whatever is left rides along in a lunch bag with nothing more than a pinch of salt. 1 pot, 1 boil, an entire week covered. Solo seniors who want to cook once and eat protein-rich meals every day without repeating the same dish need this system specifically, not just the recipe underneath it. Keep that dozen eggs in mind, because 3 more entries on this list depend on it. Nutrition researchers have consistently found that adults over the age of 65 need more protein per pound of body weight than younger adults, not less, even as appetite naturally shrinks with age. That runs directly against what most people assume about eating less as they get older. Muscle loss tied to aging happens faster, without enough protein in the diet, and it happens quietly, long before anyone notices the difference in daily strength. A grandmother reaching for an egg instead of a slice of bread was not being old-fashioned. She was doing exactly what current research says older adults should be doing. What else did she understand about protein that nobody explained to the rest of us? Keep watching, because the next 7 entries answer that directly. Number 12. Cottage cheese and canned peaches. A scoop of cottage cheese topped with canned peaches and their juice, eaten cold straight from the bowl as a dessert that quietly doubles as a protein-rich meal. It takes less time to assemble than it does to open a bag of chips, and it leaves behind considerably more than a bag of chips ever could. The sweetness of the peaches balances the slightly tangy cottage cheese in a way that makes the whole bowl feel more like a treat than a health decision. Sentimental grandchildren who remember a grandmother eating this after dinner every single night without fail will recognize the combination instantly. The peach juice pools slightly at the bottom of the bowl, soaking into the last few bites in a way that makes them somehow the best part, cool and sweet, against the tang of the cheese underneath. But canned peaches are not the only can quietly loaded with protein sitting on that same shelf. Number 11. Canned mackerel and rice. A can of mackerel, flaked over a bowl of warm rice with a splash of soy sauce or a squeeze of lemon, stirred through until the fish coats every grain. It takes less than 5 minutes from can opener to bowl. No stove required if the rice was already cooked ahead of time. Mackerel is one of the cheapest canned fish sold anywhere, and still carries a serious amount of protein per can, often overlooked entirely in favor of tuna, sitting right beside it on the same shelf. Family heritage viewers with roots in fishing or coastal communities will recognize this pairing on sight, the smell of the fish rising off the warm rice the moment it is stirred through. Most shoppers walk straight past the mackerel without a second glance, never realizing it often costs less than the tuna can beside it, while carrying just as much, if not more, protein per serving. The next entry proves that protein does not always need a can at all. Sometimes it only needs a pot of hot water. Number 10. Egg drop soup, protein broth. A pot of broth or salted water brought to a gentle boil. A beaten egg drizzled slowly through it in a thin stream while stirring, forming soft ribbons that cook the instant they hit the hot liquid. A single bouillon cube can stand in for real broth without changing the result much at all. This soup costs almost nothing and comes together in under 10 minutes from a completely empty stovetop. Solo seniors on a night when even chewing feels like too much effort will find this bowl goes down easy and still delivers real protein. The egg ribbons turn silky and slightly translucent at the edges, floating through a broth that tastes considerably richer than the ingredient list suggests it should, especially with a dash of black pepper stirred in right before the first spoonful. If this list is already changing how you think about a grocery bill, hit the like button right now and make sure you are subscribed before the next entry. Number 9. Peanut butter toast stack. A slice of toast spread thick with peanut butter, topped with a sliced banana or a drizzle of honey, eaten as a full meal rather than a snack squeezed in between real ones. Stack 2 slices together and it stops looking like a snack and starts looking like an actual dinner plate. Peanut butter carries a meaningful amount of plant protein per spoonful, and 2 slices of this stack easily rival the protein in a small piece of meat. Cost-conscious viewers who assume protein always means meat need to see how far 1 jar of peanut butter actually stretches across a month. The peanut butter turns slightly warm against the hot toast, softening just enough to spread all the way to the crust, and the banana adds a soft sweetness that makes the whole plate feel closer to a treat than a budget decision. But bread is not the only base a spoonful of peanut butter improves, and the next entry proves it works just as well in a completely different direction. Number 8. Canned chickpeas and egg skillet. A can of chickpeas, drained and warmed in a little oil until the edges turn slightly crisp, 2 eggs cracked directly over the top and scrambled through until everything sets together in one pan. The whole dish comes together in one pan and one can, with almost nothing to scrub afterward. Chickpeas hold a genuinely high amount of plant protein for their price, and the egg pushes the whole skillet well past what either ingredient manages alone. Practical home cooks looking to cut a weekly grocery bill without cutting protein will find this skillet becomes a regular fallback fast. The chickpeas turn slightly nutty once they crisp, giving the soft egg something firm to hold onto in every bite. And a sprinkle of garlic powder turns a 5-minute pan into something that smells like it was planned days in advance. The next entry brings the same thinking to a glass instead of a pan. A pound of chicken breast at the grocery store today often costs several times more than a dozen eggs, a can of beans, or a box of powdered milk, even though all 4 deliver a meaningful dose of protein per serving. The price gap is not new. It has existed for decades, quietly rewarding anyone willing to look past the meat aisle for their protein instead of walking straight to it out of habit. Grandmothers on a fixed income were not choosing eggs and beans because meat was forbidden. They were doing basic math at the register, the same math that still holds up today whether or not anyone bothers to check it. Number 7. Powdered milk. Protein porridge. Reconstituted powdered milk simmered with a spoonful of oats until it thickens into a warm porridge, finished with a spoonful of peanut butter or a sprinkle of cinnamon depending on what the pantry has that morning. This porridge stacks 3 separate protein sources into one bowl without a single one of them costing real money. Cost-conscious viewers, feeding themselves through the final stretch of the month before a check arrives, will find this porridge fills the gap without leaving anyone hungry an hour later. The oats soften into the milk until the whole pot turns thick enough to hold a spoon standing upright. The cinnamon blooming into the steam the second the spoon breaks the surface. But porridge only works in the morning for some people, and the next entry solves the same problem at any hour of the day. Number 6. Boiled egg and string cheese plate. 2 boiled eggs from that Sunday dozen, paired with a stick of string cheese, eaten together as a plate that requires no cooking, no dishes, and no more than 2 minutes of assembly. It is the kind of plate that works standing at the counter just as well as it works sitting down. Between the two, this plate delivers a genuinely serious amount of protein for less than $1 total. Solo seniors who want a real meal, on a day when standing at the stove feels like too much, need this exact plate memorized. The string cheese pulls apart in long strands the way it always has, a small satisfaction that costs almost nothing and still feels like a treat, especially paired with a handful of crackers for something to hold on to. The next entry brings a different kind of can into the mix, one most people already own but rarely think to use this way. Number 5. Canned sardines on crackers. A tin of sardines in oil, laid across a few whole grain crackers with a squeeze of lemon or a dab of mustard, eaten standing at the counter without a single pot touched. It is one of the fastest meals on this entire list, ready the moment the tin is opened. Sardines carry one of the highest protein to price ratios of any food sold in a can, quietly outperforming almost every other option on this entire list. Cost-conscious viewers who dismiss sardines on site need to actually price this meal against anything else in the store before deciding it is not worth trying. The lemon cuts straight through the richness of the oil, brightening the whole cracker into something far more appealing than the tin alone suggests. The smell sharp and briny, in a way that immediately says the sea rather than a can. Most people never think to check what a can this small can actually deliver, and the next entry does something nearly identical with a bean instead of a fish. Number 4. Black bean and egg bowl. A can of black beans, warmed with a pinch of cumin, topped with a fried or poached egg, and eaten straight from the bowl with a fork. It looks almost too simple to count as a real dinner, right up until the first bite proves otherwise. Between the beans and the egg, this bowl delivers a complete protein profile for a total cost that barely registers on a grocery receipt. Practical home cooks trying to build a real dinner around pantry basics will find this bowl becomes one of the most repeated meals on the entire list. The egg yolk breaks over the warm beans the moment the fork touches it, coating everything underneath in something rich and slightly savory. A splash of hot sauce turning a 2-ingredient bowl into something that tastes like it took planning. But not every entry on this list needs a bowl, a pan, or even a spoon, and the next one proves exactly that. Number 3. Cottage cheese. Straight from the tub. A single serving of cottage cheese, eaten plain and cold directly from the container, seasoned with nothing but a pinch of salt and pepper, if even that. No recipe, no cooking, no dish beyond the spoon already in the drawer. A cost-conscious viewer who assumes a real meal requires effort should know that cottage cheese alone carries more protein per dollar than almost anything else sold in a grocery store. It is not a shortcut dressed up as a meal. It is a complete one, plain and unbothered by how simple it looks sitting there in the tub, ready in the time it takes to find a clean spoon. The next entry takes that same plainness and turns it into something closer to a ritual than a meal. Number 2. The single bowl protein supper. One bowl, one fork, whatever protein the pantry has that evening, warmed through and eaten slowly at a table set for one without needing to explain itself to anybody. Solo seniors living alone sometimes feel that a real dinner needs more components, more effort, more proof that the meal was worth the trouble of making it all. It never did. A grandmother eating alone on a quiet evening treated one honest bowl of protein as enough, because feeding yourself with care is the same act whether the table seats one person or 10. And the steam rising off that single bowl counted every bit as much as a table set for a crowd. But every single bowl on this entire list traces back to one place, and it is finally time to open it. Number 1. The dozen egg carton, the original foundation. A carton of a dozen eggs, sitting in the refrigerator door of a kitchen belonging to someone living carefully on a fixed income, was never a small thing. It was the plan. It meant that whatever the week brought, whatever the check was late or the cupboard ran thin, there was a foundation in that kitchen nothing could easily take away. Nearly every entry on this list traces back to that same carton, boiled, scrambled, folded into a skillet, or stirred into a bowl at the end of a long day. A single egg costs only a few cents and still delivers 6 grams of complete protein, more per dollar than almost anything else in the entire store. Keep the carton full. Know everything a single egg can become. She always did. Pick 3 from this list and try them this week. Start with number 13, number 6, and number 1, because together they teach the entire system without needing the full countdown twice. And once you understand that system, the other 17 entries stop feeling like a list and start feeling like options. Tell me below which cheap protein meal got you or someone in your family through a hard month, by name if it ever had one. Somebody else reading the comments tonight might need that exact name more than they need another recipe from a stranger. The egg carton was never the humble option in that kitchen. It was the foundation, built quietly by people who understood that protein was never about the price tag, only about knowing what a few honest ingredients could become when nothing else was on the table. She never needed a nutrition label to tell her that. She only needed a dozen eggs, a can of something from the pantry, and the patience to make it stretch as far as it needed to go. Click the video on your left right now, because the next list is already waiting, and it might already be sitting in your kitchen.